and today's video is going to be on one of the most positive topics in the world, desserts. Yes, you heard me right. All of them are gluten-free and vegan and absolutely delicious. So I'm going to show you 4 recipes today. All of them have very little ingredients and are very easy to recreate, and you basically just need a food processor and an oven, and actually 2 of them are even raw, which is amazing. I found all of these recipes on Pinterest and different blogs and decided to recreate them and put a little bit of my twist on them, so let's see how that turned out. Oh, and all of the ingredient quantities are going to be down below in the description box so it would be easier to follow. Let's begin with the queen or king or whatever dessert of them all, the key lime pie. And this is so healthy and you will actually not believe what it's made of, and it was so good. And I kid you not, have the pie I ate myself, but I don't even feel guilty about it. It consists of 2 parts, and for the crust you're gonna need 1 cup of crushed cookies, 1/4 of a cup of coconut flakes, 1/4 of a cup of raw cashews, 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of lime juice, and I grated some lime zest in as well. So first you gotta spray with oil or line your pan with parchment paper and set that aside, and afterwards use a food processor, and I had a very powerful one, so everything was super quick. I took some vegan gluten-free cookies because I couldn't find any graham crackers in Latvia, and what you have to do is you put them in the food processor and pulse them until it creates a flour. Then add the rest of the ingredients into the food processor and blend it or pulse it until it creates a smooth, doughy texture and kind of like this ball that you can afterwards spread in your pan to create a crust. The crust was actually the best part because we did use cookies, and that's very unhealthy, I know, but it just made it taste amazing. For the filling, you're gonna need 2 large avocados, or I used small ones, so I used 4 small ones, 1/4 of a cup of lime juice, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of coconut oil that was melted, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, or I used vanilla sugar because I didn't have any extract. Again, super easy. All it takes is clean out your food processor and just dump all of the ingredients inside of it and pulse it until it's a smooth, nice green mass. You're not going to believe it's made out of avocados because it tastes nothing like it, and I decided to add in more lime juice than was in the recipe just because I thought that if it were more sour it would balance out the really sweet crust, and it did. It tasted really good and very contrasting. Decorate the pie and then put some plastic wrap over it and stick it into your freezer for 1 to 2 hours until it settles. I recommend using kind of a cheesecake type of frame where you can take off the sides so that you can have like a solid thing you can cut into, because that would be so much more convenient. We decorated ours with some pecan nuts, and after it came out of the freezer it was like ice cream cake, but better, a million times better, and a million times healthier as well. And I really recommend trying out this recipe because everyone loved it and it was really good. The second thing we made were some gluten-free blueberry muffins, and I was a particular fan of them because they weren't too sweet. They were like the perfect amount of sweetness and of that healthy fruit inside. The ingredients for that were 1.5 cup of blueberries, and I used some frozen berries on top as well, 1 cup of raw cashews, 1 cup of buckwheat flour, 1 cup of dates, 2 large bananas, 1/2 of a cup of milk, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of vanilla sugar or 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a pinch of salt, and I decided that I wanted to add some chocolate chips inside as well, so I had a little bit of chocolate chips for half the recipe. First, begin by preheating the oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit, and afterwards take your cashews and put them into the food processor and grind them until it becomes into a flour. Place the flour into a mixing bowl along with the rest of the dry ingredients and the blueberries and mix it all. Afterwards, into an already clean food processor, place the dates, the bananas, whatever type of milk you like to use, almond or soy or coconut, and the vanilla, and blend it all together until it forms a solid, liquid, kind of gooey mass. Because instead of using a bowl, I did everything in the food processor, my muffins were really dense, so I recommend using the bowl, stirring everything with your hand. It's gonna take you a couple more minutes, but it's gonna be worth it in the end. And also, when I divided the mass in half, when I stirred it together, I added the chocolate chips to half of it so that we had half chocolate muffins. Scoop the muffins into some muffin pans, and if you didn't have any cupcake liners, then just spray it with some spray-on oil or just spread some coconut oil inside of it so that they wouldn't stick. And Afterwards, place them in the oven for 20 to 40 minutes. And in your case, if you do it in a bowl, they actually might rise. Mine were still pretty flat. After you take them out of the oven and they cool for around 10 minutes, you can finally taste them or serve them, and they are amazing. The fruitiness, the banana, the blueberry, everything just works so well inside of them, and also they're gluten-free, so they're not gonna disrupt your tummy. Ever since I was a little girl, my favorite cake has always been carrot cake, and I was really excited to find a recipe on how to make it much healthier and much more guilt-free than normal carrot cake, because it is quite rich and quite creamy when you buy it in just normal cafeterias. But this one is raw, beautiful, and colorful. We're gonna make cake and frosting separately. So for the cake itself, you're gonna need 3 cups of shredded carrots, 1 cup of pitted dates, 1 cup of raw walnuts, 2/3 of a cup of shredded coconut, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, a pinch of salt, and a half a cup of raisins. You can make a big cake out of this or a lot of small ones, and I decided to go with small ones just because I thought that would look better on video. What the original recipe said that I did as well was to put all of the ingredients into a food processor, but I actually recommend taking the carrot and leaving about a half of it out of the food processor, taking the raisins, not putting them into the food processor as well, so you have carrots and raisins on the side. Blend everything else together, and then afterwards fold the carrots with the raisins in, just because I feel like that would give it, again, a less dense texture, and it would be much more edible and less sweet. That was a problem I had with the ones I made. They were a bit too dense and too rich, so I had to cut them in half. After it's all lovely and blended and you have stirred in your carrots and your raisins, just put everything into either one big cheesecake pan, like the one I said about before with the key lime pie, the one that you can take off the sides of it, like the borders, or just stuff it into a little tart pan or put it into cupcake trays. I decided to actually just put it on into like a big plate, put it in the freezer for a little bit, and use a cookie cutter to cut out these floral shapes. I thought it made it look very decorative, so I basically just used the dough as cookie dough. Now moving on to the best part of any cake, again, raw, gluten-free, vegan, you get the drill. You're gonna need 2 cups of soaked cashews, and I soaked them in for around 5 hours, I think. 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil, 1/3 of a cup of water, 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of vanilla sugar or a teaspoon of vanilla essence, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and a pinch of salt. And instead of a pinch of salt, I recommend adding a little more than a pinch, because when the frosting is more salty, it does a really good job at balancing out with the really sweet cake. And again, super simple, there's nothing to even say. All of these ingredients I just named, chuck them into your food processor, blend it all until it's a smooth mass, and it's gonna taste so good that you would never even guess that it's made out of cashews, especially if you blend it for a long enough time. I could eat buckets of that. Put the cream onto the cake, or if you have smaller ones, I actually think it would be really cool if you put some on top and then cut it in the middle and then put some in the middle. I just put mine on top of the little ones and decorated it with walnuts because I thought it looked very cute. And this cake was honestly a childhood rabbit's dream come true. Like, try it, you're never gonna regret it. And for the last vegan dessert recipe, of course, I could never leave out the brownie. The classic, recreated so many times with so many different ingredient combination options. With the brownie, the world is your oyster, but we're gonna be making a really interesting type of vegan brownie with sweet potatoes inside of it. Yes, you heard me right. So for the ingredients, you're gonna need 3 cups of peeled, chopped, cooked, and cooled sweet potato, 3 cups of pitted dates, 1 cup of unsweetened plant-based milk, again, coconut, almond, whatever you want, 3/4 of a cup of high-quality unsweetened cacao powder, 3/4 of a cup of chopped sugar-free vegan dark chocolate, 3/4 of a cup of brown rice flour, 1/4 of a cup of potato starch or cornstarch, 4 heaped tablespoons of all-natural peanut butter, half of a teaspoon of salt, half of a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a cup of chopped walnuts. First, you gotta preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're gonna start by putting all of your cooked sweet potato into a food processor. Just boil it beforehand, it's really easy. And then process it until it's completely smooth. Afterwards, add in the dates, milk, peanut butter, and vanilla essence, and keep blending it up until you have a smooth mass. This is not on the directions, but right now take a teaspoon and taste it. Take all of your dry ingredients and add them into that same food processor with all of your wet ones and pulse it up. But remember to keep out half of the walnuts and that dark chocolate bar. Process all of that until it makes a dough. Take it off the blade and then add in your walnuts and chop up all of your dark chocolate into little squares and dump it in and stir it all through. Put all of that mass into a baking pan that is lined with some parchment paper and just smooth it all out so it becomes a nice brownie-like clean shape. Then put it in the oven for 50 to 60 minutes. You can see if it's done if you put in a toothpick and it comes out clean and you see that the brownies have little cracks all over it. Then take that out and let it cool. But I actually really liked it when it was still a little bit warm, and then they were really like gooey and sort of chocolatey inside because of the vegetables in it. And I've tasted all sorts of brownie recipes and by far this was definitely my favorite. But remember to store it in the fridge afterwards because it is made mostly of sweet potato, which is a vegetable which does go off and you don't really want for your brownies to like rot or something. So I hope you guys like these recipes and embrace the fact that they have no animal products, no cruelty in them. They're beautiful, delicious and fresh and much more healthy than all of the standard recipes. And of course, don't eat all of them in one day like me and my friend did when we were making them. These type of things, even though it's a good treat, still shouldn't become like your staple diet item. Once in a while, you know, you can treat yourself, or even better, you can make this for someone as a gift and give it to them, and I promise they will never ever guess. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye. Also, comment down below if you want more recipe videos, because I love making them, honestly, especially when I'm at home, because in college we don't really have a kitchen. Anyways, goodbye.